is the People's TV. It is a show sponsored by the People-Pueblo Party, actually produced by the People-Pueblo Party, and sponsored by the People's Health Project Incorporated. The People-Pueblo Party has a motto, which is common sense politics for the people, the planet, and the animals. And the People's Health Project Incorporated is about health, wellness, and survival. Also, we're also connected to the Harriet Tubman Survival Network, which is a new initiative that's going to be become organized and popularized because of the multiple crises that our people are going through during this particular time, pandemic, economic, political crises. And, everybody thought that with Trump gone, that it will all be good, but it still isn't, right? Because the problems we have started before Trump got elected, and the problems still persist today. I mean, we don't have that clown, that fool, making things worse, but they are bad enough. And so in tonight's Stop COVID segment, we're going to be talking about the current situation with COVID, and then we're going to move on and talk about women's health and self-defense. And we have a couple of wonderful guests, a couple of sisters, very strong, very accomplished. We're going to let them introduce themselves this evening because they are the best people qualified to introduce themselves. And so I'm going to bring on my co-host, Bill, and, let him share a few words with you. So he'll be right on. And there he is. Hey, Bill, what's up? Oh, your mic is, hold on. There you go. There you go. Control is, trying to get it together tonight.
Okay, we do the remix. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Women's History Month again. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, brother.
It's good to see you. And I'm looking forward to the program. I really don't have much to say. I think that the women are going to do a fantastic job. I can't wait to hear what they got to say. So straight ahead.
All right, thank you. And we're going to have a couple of guests tonight, but first we're going to have Sister Jessica Morales on and let her intro. I could start the intro, but her resume and her list of accomplishments are so long that, I'm not going to do justice. She's a physician assistant. She was a public school teacher. She's a great mom, wonderful wife, my wife, by the way. And she's looking younger every day, which means I better get it together. And so also she helps with the finances of the People-Pueblo Party, taking on that very serious responsibility. And she also saved lives. When COVID came out and the hospitals were sending people home to die, she intervened. And the People-Pueblo Party, we help folks at home, connecting them to doctors through the screen, through Zoom and other things. And she's a great hero. And I'm sorry, that's my brief introduction, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Unmute me. Okay, there you go. Well, thank you. I'm not sure if what more I can add to that. I sound amazing. I'm like, oh, I want to meet that person. But yeah, I'm a physician assistant. My current field of specialty is dermatology. I've been working as a PA for about 8 years now. In February, I graduated 8 years ago with my PA degree. Before that, I was a teacher. I have my degree in science and physician assistant studies, and I also have a degree in education. So combining all those things, I think that's what makes my work very specific nowadays, as I not just talk about medicine, but I also try to educate to the best of my ability. I'm also an avid boxer, and I fence on my downtime. So I don't know, is there more I should say? I think that's A good introduction. Yes, Bill, I see your hand up.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat. There's other things that they could say. They said, "You're mad, cool,"
Yeah.
and it seemed to be yeah. See, there it is. It seemed to be consensus on that. So I just wanted to read from the chat. Mark usually read from the chat. I
Yeah.
can read people.
All right, thank you.
All right, nice, very nice, very nice. So we're gonna go into our stop COVID segment now, and in school, I teach high school, and my students are working on a project, and we're trying to dispel myths since COVID first came out. I think I spent the whole summer just debunking garbage, right-wing garbage on Facebook and other social media. And right now, there are 9 countries: Australia, China, Cuba, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, that have no new COVID cases. They have no variants. And the only time they see variants is when people from other countries try to go into their countries. And of course, they quarantine them, right? And so there is extreme chaos in the United States. There's extreme chaos in Europe. The United States didn't deal with the pandemic effectively from the beginning. Some European countries did, but then they loosened up restrictions too quickly. And so I'm going to show a short clip. I think it's about a minute and change about what's happening in Europe, because they're on their 3rd COVID surge. And so I'm just going to play that now. And I'm going to mute most of the mics, just so we don't get a lot of bad feedback. But this is from Europe.
1 year into the COVID-19 pandemic, and tempers across Europe seem to be fraying. Anger at lockdown measures and other restrictions has spilled out onto the streets. On Saturday alone, there were protests in Croatia, Sweden, Finland, Belgium, Poland, Austria, and more. In the small Swiss town of Liestal, almost half of the population turned out to denounce the partial lockdown that has been in place since mid-January.
Das Volk will diesen Bundesrat nicht mehr. Sie will ihn weg. Verstößt gegen Menschenrechte. Verstößt gegen Völkerrecht.
We want to live in a democratic land. We want our children be free and safe, not with the vaccine. Definitely not with the vaccine. And we are not here for experimental issues.
Faced with rising infection rates, Germany has hinted it may reverse recent relaxations in restrictions. That didn't go over well with the over 20,000 protesters marching through the streets of the town of Kassel, where clashes broke out with police and multiple arrests were made. But the largest protests were seen in London. Despite the UK having the best vaccination rate in Europe and a roadmap out of the pandemic, thousands vented their anger at Boris Johnson's lockdown, which has been in place since just after Christmas, resulting in clashes with police. Under current lockdown regulations, mass gatherings across Britain are not allowed. That includes protests, which are not listed as justifiable reasons for leaving home. But rights activists have demanded the government make an exception to the rule and allow what they call the human right to protest peacefully.
Let me close this, like this, and I just wanted to contrast that. That's Europe, right? That's Europe out of control. When we had the Black Lives Matter protests here, when you see the protests against anti-Asian violence protests, people are wearing masks here, right? People in the left and the progressive movement, they're wearing masks. They get it. But if you notice those pictures coming out of Europe, people are not wearing masks, and people talking about they're not taking the vaccine, right? So there's going to be a breakdown in European and American societies because they haven't been able to control the pandemic. Now, again, Australia, China, Cuba, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam have all controlled the virus. Their economies are ramping up. People going back to work, they're going back to school. They're making money. Their GDP is growing. The gross domestic product of the country is growing. All of these countries. And I just want to play a very short piece from New Zealand, so everybody can have a sense where things are working, right? Where things are working.
Well, kia ora koutou katoa. Welcome back to the Ministry of Health. Pleased to report again today there are no new positive cases of COVID-19 in the community, and we have 6 new positive cases in managed isolation to report. All of those were identified at day 01 testing on arrival into the country.
Okay. No, what did he say? He said no
Cases.
new COVID cases in the country. And they have 6 cases. And who are these people, these 6 people?
Americans.
They probably are, because they're arrivals from outside the country, right? But how do they catch these 6 people? It's because they're screening the people at the airport. They're screening the people at the airport. So this whole thing of controlling COVID is not brain surgery. It's really not. But it means that governments have to invest the money in testing, tracing, quarantine, and providing what people need when they get sick. If you watch the rest of that interview from New Zealand, he talks about how 2 people who are sick are in a special unit of the Ministry of Health. It's a special hospital. They're getting the best absolute treatment they can get. And then you contrast that with the US. New York City has the UK variant, the Brazil variant, the South Africa variant, the New York City variant, right? And so you can contrast, you can clearly see countries that are handling the pandemic and countries that are not. And those that are handling it are moving on, right? But because we have a neoliberal government in this country and other countries, neoliberalism, we got to understand that. We have capitalism, and it's the absolute worst form of capitalism. All it does is give more money to those who have money and then does not provide for those who don't. That's the worst type of capitalism you could ever have, and that's what we have in this country. So just in this segment, I'm going to open it up now to guests for this Stop COVID segment. I mean, we have a lot more of the show to come, but let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, what do y'all think?
Well, I agree with you because, I mean, when you talk about neoliberalism and you talk about money, I mean, I guess the best example is the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, right? I mean, the problem with the United States, they always find ways to make money at the expense of the health of the Americans. And you can go, and you can pick a subject. You could pick cancer. You can pick any health. You can pick pregnancy. I mean, you could contrast that against Canada, any other country. And the mortality rate is always about money. It's always money first, and the health. I don't even want to say the health second. It's disguised as we care about your health, as long as those that are in a position to get money can get money. So you're right. I mean, you got cases of why Cuba was successful. We discussed that in previous segments, how they renowned around the world because they travel and things of that nature, and because they were deprived of certain things, they were forced to. They say necessity is the mother of invention, so they were forced to create things on their own, and they were showing us how they could do it, how they could survive and thrive, things of that nature. So it's all about, even with the Eastern style medicine versus Western style, one treats the condition, one gives you a pill until you take it to the day you die. So that's America's way. So, I mean, it's a reason why they continually do things the same way, and people need to recognize this. And I mean, it's a lot of factors, but it really all comes down to the greed of money.
That's it. All right, thank you, Jessica. Any?
Yeah. I don't know, so many things just run through my mind as a healthcare professional. You know, it's at this point we know much more about the virus. You know, we know that masks are just essential. And I think, you know, like Bill was saying, you know, there's such a this thing like we have to make money, and so that is impacting the decisions that the government is making. And of course, it has nothing to do with whether or not we're healthy and safe. You know, and I was just thinking about how the COVID testing is actually very much available now. You know, they have COVID testing on the street now, but again, it's like the onus is on the individual. So it's not something where they're like coming to you per se and trying to do tracing. For example, you know, we went to Dominican Republic. They didn't have us test for COVID before we got over there, you know, and like, so we could just be bringing COVID, you know, on the plane. You know, anybody could have COVID on the plane. We would have gotten all infected. Who knows? You know, they didn't care. So it's just, you know, these policies that again are run by money and these top businesses, right? Because they didn't care about the small businesses to help them out. But it's just so many factors. I mean, I can just name so many different things. And, you know, the people of the country have been so brainwashed to think individually. You know, everyone's so individualistic. Oh, I don't want to wear a mask. Oh, I can't do this with a mask. Oh, no one's going to make me wear a mask. It's like you're only thinking about yourself and no one else. You want the economy to come back so bad, wear a mask. You know, just kind of like we know what we need to do, but yet some people are obviously not doing it. And so many people are also so, you know, again, individualistic. They're going on spring break to Miami. You know, you have all these young people who obviously just don't give a crap, right? I mean, and they're the ones that are going to be spreading it to those that are, you know, sickly and have all these comorbidities. So again, it's this individualism, you know, that this country has grown and instilled in our young people and just everyone, you know. So anyway, I can keep going, but it's just so many factors.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, one other thing, couple of points. One is, you know that they really don't care about you. When I remember when Oprah was talking about the mad cow disease, and she was really giving a lot of information. And Dr. Phil had advised her, if I remember correctly, to maybe she should stop talking about that. As wealthy and as influential as she was before they write her up as an accident, aka missing. And then, like Jessica touched on with the Miami thing, spring break. They knew what they was doing, and it show you how greedy they are. They allowed these kids to come here so they can make all this money from 8 to 8, and then they got a curfew.
Right.
I mean, you can have it both ways. And you want to bring it to New York, you can look at New York. You can look at it, compare it to other places, how they judiciously gave out the vaccine. It was like really controlled by the governor. Now that he's under fire, look how people friendly he is. How he's dropping the age down expeditiously. How he's dropping the curfew and bowling alleys and pool halls and things from 11 o'clock to, you know, hey, you want to stay open at 3, you want to stay open at 4, whatever you want to do. All these mass change. It's funny how all things change depends on what the agenda is.
Right.
And it's never about the people.
Yep. It's never about the people. It's always about giving more money to rich people. And David Cruz puts on the ones who stand to make the most money are the pharmaceutical companies and the makers of vaccines. And to be completely honest, you know, David is right about that. The money used to develop the vaccines, it was taxpayer money. So billions of dollars of our money, of our tax money, was given to these pharmaceutical companies to produce the vaccine instead of not needing the vaccine. So they let the situation get so out of control that then we need the vaccine. You see what I'm saying? And then billions of dollars had to be given to these vaccine companies. Now, I took the first vaccine, and I'm supposed to take the second one on Wednesday. So millions of people have taken the Pfizer, the Moderna. I don't think as many people have taken the Johnson & Johnson. But what it looks like is that the Pfizer and the Moderna have a 95% efficacy, right? So they help up to 95%. And I think the one shot Johnson and Johnson helps about 75%. So I'm not, and I always had the position that people got to do their own research and they got to figure out if the vaccine is best for them. I did my research, and for me, the vaccine was the best thing for me. And I'm taking my second dose on the 24th. And I don't know if y'all, Jessica or Brother Bill, if y'all have anything you want to add to that, because we do have to get to our main topic tonight, but I don't know if you want to add anything.
I agree with you. It's case by case. I haven't taken it. I'm an essential worker. I've had ample opportunity to take it. I'm of age. I'm over 60. I took it a while ago. I prefer to. I won't rule it out, but I prefer to self-medicate. I did have the virus a year ago, this time last year. My son has it now, but I mean, I've been tested since he's had it since Wednesday, and I feel like what I'm doing works for me. But I would never try to talk anybody out of, having peace of mind. So whoever brings you peace of mind.
Right. I hear that. Jessica, you have anything to say on this one?
No, I agree. I mean, I'm took my first dose and I'm set to take my second dose this week. And I was definitely one of the more cautious people. I did not want to get this vaccine right when it came out. I was like, nope, let them test it on whoever else first. But, because it is a test, right? We're still in the trials. Like, we're all the guinea pigs right now, everybody who's taking it. But so far, the results have been, pretty amazing. We don't know what's going to happen 5-10 years down the road. We don't know what effects, are going to come of this. We don't know if it's actually going to be that effective. They're already saying we're going to need boosters, and we don't know about the variants. There's so many factors that can come into play, but I do feel good about, deciding to eventually get the vaccine, but everyone needs to make their own decision, knowing, the risk and benefits.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I was in a meeting with teachers, and I'm like, everybody in this room has 2 master's degrees. Don't tell me y'all can't do y'all research, right? Like, why are you having somebody else tell you what to do? Do the reading, talk about it, discuss it. I mean, you got science teachers in the room. Like, really? Like, what's up? What is that? So I don't know. But anyway, let me introduce Patty Dukes. It says Patty Dukes. I know her as Patty Marte. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But she's a very powerful sister warrior, healer in our community. Let me turn it over to her, see if she wants to add anything to that very brief. But I know her to be a very wonderful person, connected to very wonderful people who I love very much. So Patty, let me turn it over to you, and you can add in what I did.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. My name is Patty Dukes. I'm a hip hop artist. I was born in Puerto Rico, grew up in the South Bronx, and now I'm based in Washington Heights. Right now, I'm actually at my Monday night runs. There's actually a group of people that we run every Monday night, 7:30. We meet at 7:15 and we run at 7:30. And we do it every Monday, rain or shine, in Washington Heights. And if you could see behind me, I'll show you. Folks are stretching, but we're socially distanced. We wear masks. It's really important for us in Washington Heights. There's not a lot of spaces for us to gather. Also, obviously, for health reasons, for social reasons. But running has been a big part of my life, and it's really changed so many things in my life. And I want to encourage more people in our community to get healthy, to get active, whether it's through running, whether it's through biking. There's so many different ways, right? But a lot of times the economic barriers can prevent someone from finding things in their own community. A lot of times sports, arts are what I would say is for a different class of people that are sometimes invited to these things, right? Where we can't afford to go into the gym or we can't afford a Broadway ticket. For me, it's important to be, as an artist and also an athlete in the community, giving people access to these things that they wouldn't have access to before, especially for me, because I grew up in the Bronx and I had to go downtown to get arts classes, to get any kind of training. And it's something important for me to be able to bring that information back into my community, because my community doesn't have access to these things. So that's why I'm here. I'm here every Monday night running. So I invite anyone who wants to come for a run. We do 5K, about 3 miles every Monday night. And it's a beautiful way for folks in the community to also get to know each other, especially during the pandemic and all the stuff that's going on with Black Lives Matter and all the oppression that's happening right now with, with the Asian community. For us as a community to gather in this space and really be there for each other and motivate, inspire each other, and keep each other energized through all this craziness that's happening this year. It's really great that we have this space. So I'm here with my partner, Ref. He wants to wave hello. He's wearing his mask.
Man.
Yeah, so that's my partner, Ref. We're circa 95. And we do hip hop music, so everything that we do is intersected with arts and athletics, and it's a great way for us to connect hip hop, which is where we grew up. That's our generation, right? And really speak to the young people that are out in the streets and finding positive outlets for them to connect to the arts, to athleticism, right? And as opposed to kind of staying indoors and being depressed. There's so many things that we could be depressed about, right, in this world. But finding a healthy and positive outlet is also really important. And a lot of times people aren't sharing those things, right? Not giving people access to those spaces. So that's why we're here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So, Jessica, let's keep that thread going. Talk to us.
All right.
Let's keep that going, because that vibe, that energy is what people need. Like, people talk about lockdowns and COVID, but you know what? Like, I live on 120th Street across from Marcus Garvey Park, and I find that in the morning is the best time to go walk the dog. And we go around the park and we walk in, and sometimes the dog be like tired. I'm like, come on, man, what's up? And I have to bring him upstairs so I can keep walking myself. But, we really have to keep moving. We need that sunlight, and, thank you, Patty, for bringing those points. So Jessica, you want to continue on that thread?
Yeah, I just want to mention first, I grew up in the South Bronx too. I'm Puerto Rican, but I was born and raised here. I grew up on 156 between Cortland and Morris. So, Bronx girls, yeah. So that's always nice.
Bronx is taking over.
But yeah, just about, it's so important to exercise. And when we talk about women having that community where you feel safe and supported, that is so important. So one of the things that I do is I box, and I box recreationally, for my mental health, for physical health. I've been boxing for about 4 years, and 4 years ago, I found out about this woman named Coach Reese Scott, who was going to open her own women's World of Boxing gym just for women in East Harlem. I was so excited. I mean, I think I stalked her every day on like social media. And eventually she opened up her gym, and it's been the most amazing experience. The women there are just just non-judgmental. It's a space where you can be yourself and yet be badass without someone commenting, because supposedly boxing is more of a male sport or a masculine sport, and they may make comments about, oh, you're going to box. Ooh, I'm so scared, and it's just ridiculous, because you have that sexism when, you go to a gym that's co-ed. At least that was my experience. I'm not saying every woman, has had that experience or will have that experience, but that was my experience. And to be in a place where it's women supporting each other and being badass and being confident, right, with self-defense, because you're learning these techniques, and they're real boxing techniques. They're not, going to a fitness class where, you're not learning real techniques. These are real techniques that can help you defend yourself in any situation when you're out there. Again, especially for women and women of color, we are targets every single day. And some women of color may not live in the best neighborhood, right? Or just some women in general. And so you have to be on your toes, and you have to have some sort of self-defense that you can kind of fall back on. Especially in the city now, with the pandemic, there's a lot of crime going on, a lot of people getting pushed on the train tracks, so you have to kind of be aware of your space. And that's something that boxing has also taught me, is being aware of your space. and not apologizing for saying, hey, move back. You're in my space right now and I don't appreciate that. So you need to respect me. And oftentimes women are always either not saying anything because they feel like, oh, I shouldn't say anything, or they're apologizing for whatever, for taking their space. And we shouldn't be like that. That should not be happening. And so boxing for me has really given me that confidence, that boost, just that, a whole new level. And again, it's helped me with my mental health and my physical health that, like running, I started running to lose weight about 5 years ago. And that's what really got me into this healthy kind of kick. And I lost a ton of weight with it. And running's amazing for your mental health. I mean, it sucks in the beginning. You're like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? And then, afterwards, you're like, wow, that was great. Just all these endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, everything that's just rushing in your head and just making you feel great. But yeah, that was awesome. I'm glad, you started with that. But yeah, I mean, where should we go from here?
My hope is actually that every neighborhood starts a running group. I mean, we've been able to start it here in Washington Heights and actually inspire other people in the Bronx and Brooklyn. And what I want is for every community to have their own running group, for every community to kind of have their own cultural spaces. A lot of times resources are not shared and we're always fighting for spaces. And I think that if everyone kind of took their own community and lifted up their own community and said, this is where we are, this is where we're going to meet, people would come outside. And a lot of times people live in buildings in New York City and they don't even know their neighbors anymore. I come from a beautiful time of the 90s, right? Where I could go outside and I knew my neighbors and I knew my community. That's also what's happening where people don't know who everyone is and everyone's a stranger. We need to come back to that sense of community and that sense of caring about who is my neighbor. Do they need anything, right? Necesitan agua, necesitan café, like being caring about your community and how it looks and how it's beautiful, and also being proud of where you come from, right? Joining the local community that's like helping the parks department and the parks group. There's so many ways to get involved that I hope that everyone finds at least one little thing that they could give back to their community. So that's my goal, whether it's running, whether it's, organizing. I mean, look at these people. They're right here. They're from the community, you see? So they show up. So what's up? Steve, he's awesome. He works at the Parks Department. We have all these folks who come in the community, right?
Hi. Where are you guys?
See you next Monday.
I tell you, right?
But you see, it's a beautiful community. Like I'm telling you, and it's also great to see young people and also older folks. We have a different generations coming together, and that's also really important, right? Because a lot of times young people and older folks don't have spaces that they're coming together to share information or to share what's going on. So I think having that is also important.
Let me ask y'all, because sometimes what we do, we take questions and comments from the chat. So Jose Alfaro, he says, what kind of reception do you get in the streets as you run by? Some people see you as crazy doing only what white people would do. Is that a real thing? Some people be like, why you acting white because you're running in the community? Is that real?
That's very real. I'll tell
that?
you that Rukru, we've been running for about 7 years now. And I'll tell you that in the beginning of our first 2 years, the police would actually stop us. They did not know what we were doing and why. And for a very long time, it was really nervous because we didn't know that like what they thought we were doing. We were obviously just running, but it took a while for them to understand that we were a weekly running group like any other group. And after a while, after 2 years of running in the community and being consistent, that's kind of when they let up. And kind of now when they see us, they'll, honk their horn or they'll do their sirens in approval. But in the beginning, it took a lot to convince them. And let me tell you, as also in the community, people do think that we're either running with white people or running for white people, or they'll ask, what are you guys running for? Like if there was a shootout and we're running away from it, right? So it's either because of danger or there's a problem or, we're protesting or something's happening, as opposed to we're just running for fun and health, right? But all of those things are happening at the same time. Us taking up space is a form of protest. because no one in the community can actually believe that people of color are running. A lot of times, even in Washington Heights, when you see white people running, it's more normalized, which is crazy to say, but it's more normalized to see white people running than to see people of color running. And on top of that, it's even less normalized to see women of color running. So it's also important for us as a running group to have men, women, children, like all different people running together. So we do have white people that run with us. We have Asian folks that run with us, right? We have doñas that run with us. We want everyone to run with us to represent the actual community, right? We don't want, and honestly, we actually get people from all over the city to come run with us because we have made Monday night an uptown thing. So we actually get people from Queens, people from Brooklyn, people from New Jersey who come on Monday nights to visit and just come run with us. So it's become a beautiful thing to inspire and to connect with people all over the world, really, because there's a big urban running community, not only in New York City, but Chicago, LA, Boston, all the cities have a running crew. So no matter where you are, where you're tuned in right now, there's a running group in your community. And I would say connect with them, find out about them. There's others. And if you don't find one, start one, make one, reach out to me and I'll help you. I want more running groups. I want more people to share in the joy of running. So that's the goal.
I like that. I mean, I had a heart attack in 2018, so I've been doing a lot of walking. But I kind of feel like with more sunlight now, I want to do a little bit of running. Maybe I can only do jogging, right? But I'm like, I wanna get out there and do something because it's important for health, for your mental health and for your physical health. So, but let me go on here. Jose actually has another comment. He says, "What do you think about the death of Ahmed Arbery, who was basically killed for jogging?" I think that's
Yeah,
a very important comment.
I,
But and maybe
absolutely. I mean, the Ahmaud
y'all both
Arbery case was
y'all both
really,
on.
I mean, it was detrimental, obviously, for us in the running community because the reality is that Ahmaud Arbery is us. We are Ahmaud Arbery. Every time that we go out to run, it's a dangerous situation, and it actually highlighted it even more for us, especially the women in my community. I mean, I'll share with you when I run by myself, I am in danger. I have been touched. I have been approached. Things have happened to me in New York City, in East Harlem, right? In different places when I run by myself. When I run with my community, when I run with a group, I feel much more safer. I feel better about it. Obviously, there's times when you do have to run alone and you do that, but it's not necessarily ideal. So when you have a scenario like an Ahmaud Arbery who went for a jog, maybe like a 5K, and didn't even get to finish it, he was just maybe 2 miles in, and he was basically, killed in the process because people, again, like we were saying in Washington Heights, people assume that you're running for something wrong, right? The perception is that as a person of color, if you're running away or you're running to something, you must have been doing something wrong, right? And it's a crazy thing because if we see white people running, we don't think that they're doing something wrong, right? When they could have been doing something wrong. So it's more the idea of perception and stereotype that we all have to
Right.
kind of help to change because it's not fair that Ahmaud Arbery got killed for running. It's not fair for all of us when we go to run that things are happening to us. I want us to be safe. And how do I feel comfortable to invite young people of color to come run when now that running is an actual thing that could get them killed? It's not cool. It's not right. It's wrong. And that's also why it's important for us to take the streets and to be active so that we could change the perception of what that is, of what a runner looks like, right? Because a lot of times you see the Wheaties box, you see the Nike ads, you see all these big ads, and it doesn't feature people of color. It only features
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
superstar athletes, right? You don't really see your local community members in these ads, and I think it's important to highlight your local artists, your local runners, the people in your community who look like you, right? And that's great that you mentioned the women's boxing because she's fantastic. She's someone who's such a pioneer and a leader in the women's community in New York City. She's everywhere, and she also helps out people, right? So I've been on a panel with her before. She's fantastic. So I am not alone in this community. There's so many folks that are trying to make sure that we have spaces that people
Right.
feel good about being in them, where we're not being attacked,
assaulted or different things are happening to us. Because really, our lives are at stake just for even wanting to get healthy, right? Just for even wanting to be alive, to just breathe, to just go for a run. It's really dangerous. So thank God. And, I'm super grateful that I have my community and that I have my friends that I can run with. Because if I was alone, or in a different place, like in the South or Midwest, I don't know if I would be able to run the way that I can run. So I'm super grateful that I'm in New York City and that I'm in Washington Heights, filled with a community that like supports women, that supports people of color. So super grateful.
Yeah, I mean, what she said a lot. Basically, I mean, people of color are seen as you're running, it's a white people sport, or you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. Basically, that's just it. And I mean, when he got killed for that, it's just very sad, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. We have to change our perception, and we have to start seeing people of color as healthy people, right? I think part of it is that we see people of color as unhealthy people, right? As people who just leech off the society. And we have to change that. We are productive, healthy, and we care about the same things. We care about our health. We care about our bodies. We care about our minds. So, when you were talking, Patty, a few things came to mind. And Harlem has a running group here. They go out Monday nights as well. And I've never gotten in touch with them. I always like running alone. But yes, there are those dangers. I've had comments, right? Like, "Ooh, look at you," or "Go girl." You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not here for that. But I always have my headphones on, even if I don't have my music on, right? Because I need to be aware, right? How many times I've gone down a block and I'm like looking behind my shoulder while I'm running. And my husband's constantly like, "You're not going to run outside when it's dark. You're not going to run outside when it's dark." And I'm like, but it's true. Like, we're in danger if we run by ourselves in the city. And one of the other things is, we have family in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where they hate runners. They just hate runners. The people on the streets are driving. They want to run you over. It's just like, I think there's a different perception where they see running as more of a hipster, urban, not a country thing, so it's more of a class thing there. But all of those things are what happens to us and what we experience. And having these spaces, like you said, like I've been saying, is super important for women. And I also kind of want to bring it to the point about, women's mental health, right? And I am not a mental health expert. I don't, try to be one. I just know from my experience and all the things I deal with is that, women have a lot of things going on, right? If you're a mother, you have your child. If you're married, then you have your child and your husband. If you have a dog, then you have your child, your husband, and your dog. Then you have to like do all these things if you're working. So now you're a full-time mom, or full-time worker, full-time mom, full-time wife, and a full-time pet owner, right? So we have so many things going on. There's so many things that fall on our shoulder that even if people don't mean to put all those things on you and all these responsibilities, you're still kind of expected to do all of these things. And so I find oftentimes that women don't take the opportunity to have that time, to carve out that time for themselves, to go for a run, to go to the boxing gym, Women, when I speak to them, they're like, "No, I don't have time," or "No, I feel bad because I should be doing something else," right? The house needs to be cleaned, the dishes need to be done. And, I think we forget as a society sometimes to really support our women, right? And say from time to time, like, "Hey, you need help? Hey, you know what? You've been looking, kind of stressed. I know you've been working hard. Go out for a walk." Even a walk is good exercise, right? Go out for a jog, a run, walk, you take out the dog, right? And just but chill, you don't have to rush back. So, this health, mental health, and exercise is really important. There have been studies that say that exercise is just as good or maybe even better than medication, right? Because in this society, when we go to a psychiatrist, they want to put you on medication right away. There's no trying to help you through this, right? There's only, well, I'm going to give you medication, so maybe you won't feel as depressed or you won't feel as anxious, but you'll still feel those things because life is life, right? And, there's no solution, right? There's just a little band-aid. Um, and I think exercise, right? And talking about those things and having that support amongst your community, amongst your family, and maybe having that space where it's just women, if that's what you need, to talk about these things, to go through these things, to maybe find solutions together. Having, during the pandemic, there's been plenty of book clubs that I've been a part of that have been women specific as well. And I just find that there's just something nice about talking. And it was a running book club, actually. And we were doing a book on Diana. I forgot her name, but she's amazing. It's called Let Your Mind Run, and it's a great book. And so we started talking about that, and we were focusing on women authors. And it was just nice to be a part of a group of people that enjoy the same thing you do and then talk about it, right? So as women, again, we just need to say it's okay for me to take that time, right? And as a society, we need to say it's okay for you to take that time out for yourself, right? So we need to change people's mindset, right? And so, again, it also like that sexism on the street, right? That sexism in the gym when men see you as a woman as not as strong. Because when I'm at the gym and I'm trying to do my squats, my weighted squats, oh, you could do that much? Oh, you need help, sweetie? No, I don't. If I needed help, I'll ask for help. I don't need you, a person I don't know at all, to come into my space. So we need to change that. It starts, within us, within our communities, like you said, creating those spaces, because no one's bringing it here, right? No one's like, oh, you know what? Women of color of Harlem need this space. So I'm going to give it to you free of charge, with no strings attached. So we have to make that happen. But yeah, that's what I have to say right now.
All right. So let me share a comment from Sister Suzanne Ross. Right on, sisters. Keep on running and taking care of your mental and physical health. That's a big endorsement by Sister Suzanne Ross, who's been a guest here on our show. All right. So, Bill, you got any questions? Because I see you got that look on your face like you want to ask a question, man.
I mean,
So,
the only obvious question I would add, I asked a couple of things I like to piggyback on that they said, but the only obvious thing I like to add, but first I want to tell Patty Duke, I used to enjoy your show in the 60s. It was a hit. And me and my sisters and my brothers, we used to watch the Patty Duke show all the time. It's a great name. But where do you run? The question is, where do you run? I know it's in Washington Heights.
To run in Washington Heights. That's my favorite.
But where do y'all meet? Where's the meeting spot? Where do y'all meet the runners?
Right in front of the hospital, actually, on 165 and Broadway.
Okay.
So
what
right
time?
there. Yeah, right by the Malcolm X spot, the Betty Shabazz Center.
By the BBQs.
Yes, right there in that park, Mitchell Square Park. We meet there at 7:15. Then we stretch and we go for a run at 7:30. And that's every Monday night, rain or shine.
Okay, so that's good that people need to know that. But I wanted to just comment too on a lot of things that you said, make it brief. Jessica, I agree with you with the boxing. I had a daughter that actually boxed. She actually was in the Golden Gloves final at Madison Square Garden. So and it's one of the things that self-defense, boxing is a form of self-defense. It gives you confidence. And I would encourage anybody, especially younger people, to engage in things that give you confidence, such as whether it's martial arts, whether it's running, whether it's boxing, or what have you. It gives you a confidence. It does help with and when you have confidence, it does help with your mental stability and things of that nature. Because now certain things that will bother you necessarily won't bother you now because you're in confidence in yourself. You know what you can do, things of that nature. So also, I would also say that the same with the running. It's important to run. And I think that question that Jose asked was a great question in terms of Ahmaud Arbery and what you were saying too, Patty. The fact that we are considered, and you need to take the time to think about this, that we're considered criminal. We can't just be enjoying the weather. We can't just be being a normal person. They do sell running shoes in the sneaker store for people that want to run or want a comfortable fit. And you just have to look at society as a whole, how they view us. Why you running? Want to stop you from running? Brother lost his life for running. I mean, we know that we know undercover cops of color have been shot and killed when they were considered the perp while they chased the perp with a gun, things of that nature. So I mean, it's up to us to change people's mindset and break down those stereotypes. And the more that we get together and we embrace these things that you're both are actually, in my opinion, leaders, because you started something and it has to start somewhere. And by you doing that, you leading in charge and you telling people, look, we can do that. And you show people how to start grassroots organizations. Don't have to be a political organization. It doesn't have to be a fight back organization. It can just be an organization for whatever you want to. Like you said, book club, running club, boxing club, just as a humanitarian or just as a human being. So I mean, I take my hats off to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the drive alive, and women power all day, every day.
Beautiful. That's it. I mean, we all have to take up space.
All
I
right.
mean, and doing things that people don't expect us to do. I mean, look at last year with the bird watching scenario, right? That was a little bit before the George Floyd thing, and I feel like that was also one of the
Right.
impetus, right? The catalyst. All these things were kind of happening to connect to everyone, to see that doing basic things would get people in trouble, arrested, or killed. And that's really, and we're still there because now, the Asian community is finding the same thing. They can't go to work. They're being targeted, right? We're all, as people of color, being targeted for just being alive, for just existing. And that's where we need to change the dynamics of actually taking up space instead of hiding, instead of being in a corner creating our own spaces. We also need to say that we're a part of this society. We need to create the society that we want, right? And be a part of it just as much as the people that are pushing us away. Because these are our communities, these are our buildings, these are our spaces. We decide what
That's true.
happens here.
Minutes. We're coming close to the end, but Jessica, before we go into closing comments, I want you to tell us where the women's world of boxing is and how can we get connected with the great work
Yes,
that's being
so
done there.
Women's World of Boxing that's the title. You can look her up on the internet. I believe it's www.boxnyc.com, or just look up Women's World of Boxing New York City and it'll pop up. You can join her classes. You can join her classes online and pay per class or membership. She's an amazing woman. I stress anybody who wants to learn to box to please go there. And you know what? If you decide boxing's not your thing, she's a great person. Just go there and talk to her, because I mean, every time I go there, I feel like I just went through a powerful, awesome therapy session, because she just has all these insights and everything that she's been through as an African American woman in the world of boxing. And she has that experience with business, because that's what she did before. She was in marketing in this completely different world. So she's just an amazing person. Just please go there. But that's in East Harlem on 2nd Avenue between 110th and 111, I believe. I hope I'm right.
Yes,
And yes.
I've had to drop you off there several times.
Yes. Her name is Coach. Well, I call her Coach, but her name is Coach Lee Scott.
All right, absolutely. Thank you. So we're coming near the end. I was just wondering if folks could give us some last words so our audience can walk away with something. Anybody can go first.
Sure. Well, I'd love to share the running group on Monday nights. It's called We Run Uptown, and we meet every Monday nights. Like I said, we meet at 7:15 and we run at 7:30 at Mitchell Square Park. Please feel free to join us. feel free to find me on Instagram or Twitter, wherever you like. Patty Dukes, that's the name. And also, I'm in a hip hop group. We're actually working right now on some music, and that's going to be really amazing to really intersect music and running. And I think that is going to be a really dope project coming up this summer and this fall. So make sure you check us out at circa95.com, CIRCA 95.com, and sign up on our mailing list so you could find out. We're going to be doing some special events and, just turning up a little bit this summer in a real safe way. So I hope you could join us. But something that I want to leave with the community, is don't get bitter, get better. Right?
Nice.
There's so many things that we could be bitter about, that we could just say, oh my goodness, this has happened to us, and we could just walk away, right? But we need to get better, and everyone needs to come together to make it better, right? Individually for ourselves, to become better people, but also become better community members, better parents, better leaders, better friends, better lovers, better everything, right? We need to be better human beings. So that's what I leave everyone with tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Jessica, any last words for our audience?
Yeah, Patty, thank you so much for that. That's amazing. You sound like an amazing individual. I hope to meet you one day in person. And maybe I'll run with you, I'll go up there. But, I just want to say for all the women out there that you need to give yourself that time, claim your space, and don't apologize for it. There's no sorries in boxing. All right.
All right. Thank you. Before we go to announcements, Bill, you want to have any last words before we go to announcements? Maybe if I unmute your mic, that might help. Go ahead, brother. Oh, it ain't me this time. It's actually, we can't hear you on this end, bro. All right. Well, I know whatever Bill is saying is good. Oh, there you go. You back.
Okay.
All right. Now you muted yourself. Now you back. Yeah, your sound.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now you're good. All right. Now you ain't. Yeah. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but don't mute yourself.
Hey, you messing me up, but whatever. I'm gonna talk fast. Okay. I had a punchline for Jessica, but I'm gonna let it go because you messed it up. But anyway, I will make it brief. Yes, like they said, join some athletic thing. You can start walking. Like they say, you got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. And with the COVID, they said the average person has gained 12.5 pounds, 12.5 pounds. So if you've been thinking about it, the weather started to change. First day of spring was Saturday. Let there be an initiative to you. Join some of the groups, one of their organizations, or start one. Or if you think that you want to get in better shape before you start one, then take that as an incentive, because most people do have the COVID pounds. So, why not? If not now, why? Then when?
All right. Thank you. So, I'm gonna go into announcements, and on Saturday, April 3rd, we have a virtual anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-fascist national grassroots conference. This is something as an initiative of the People's United Front and also the Harriet Tubman Survival Network. We have a national virtual conference. In the morning is going to be discussing fascism, the rise of fascism in the United States. And anytime fascism is up in the United States, it means more sexism, more violence against women. It means more racism, more violence against people of color. It means more violence against poor and working people. And so what we want to do with this national conference on Saturday, April 3rd, is we want to bring together people from across the country. And we already have commitments from Los Angeles, New Orleans, Baltimore, Detroit, Jersey, New York. And so it's because we don't have a national organization that's connected to groups in the community that are doing running. We don't have a national organization that's connected to groups in the community that are doing boxing. We don't have a national organization that's connected to protest in the streets against anti-Black, anti-Asian, anti-immigrant violence. We don't have that. The right wing has that. Our enemies had that. They have national organizations that have been training for years. Some of them are armed. Some of them have millions and millions of dollars, but we don't have that. And that puts us at a disadvantage. And so this conference is one of a series of different initiatives to bring all these groups together. And we don't have to agree on everything, but we do have to agree that if we want to save lives, we got to take action, right? We have to agree on the fact that if we're more disorganized, then more of us will die, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's from the police violence, whether it's from racist violence. If we can agree on those two things, then we have the basis for national network and a national organization. And we invite you, Patty. You're an artist. We need artists to come to motivate people, because you're right. Like sometimes I deal with people on the left and they are bitter. They are bitter. They look for the smallest thing, like to bite your head off. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't understand it. But you're right. People have gotten a lot more bitter instead of getting better, right? And in times of crisis, we really have to push ourselves to be better, right? We have to push ourselves to be better. And I was talking to Jessica the other day. I'm at my best when I'm well rested, when I get enough sleep, when I do my meditation, when I do my walking, and that makes the best mark that I can be. Those things. And so we got to spread that message, and we got to help people not be bitter, but to be better. And so I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And I will reach out to everybody here so y'all can register for the conference and participate. Because we started the process of the conference during Women's History Month, all of the speakers, all of the facilitators will be sisters. That's it. And brothers can participate, but the sisters are going to be in charge. So I just want to end the show and say thank you all for being here tonight. And we always end it with all power to the people. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. Thank you.